Good morning, councillors and staff. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on the land we are gathered, and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. So welcome to the 792 Ordinary Council meeting of 10th of November 2021. I declare this meeting open at 10 a.m. and I'd like to advise all attendees that this meeting is being webcast and audio recorded. I remind attendees to practice social distancing and take the necessary safety precautions. We'll go straight into reflection, so if you're able to join me in a moment of contemplation. As the distinctive sound of the last post rings across Australia, tomorrow we will pause for a moment of silence to honour the memory of those who have lost their lives in battle. The 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, originally known as Armistice Day, marks the end of the First World War when the guns fell silent on the Western Front. Since then, we have seen many Australians answer to the call to arms in times of war and conflict. Remembrance Day is an opportunity for us to stand beside our service personnel and veterans. It is a day where we reflect and remember in silence the sacrifice of those men and women who have fought for our country. We can't help but think of those who have gone before us and how they were just like us. Since the First World War, more than 100,000 Australians have paid the ultimate sacrifice for our country. Following the end of the First World War, red poppies flowered in the devastated battlefields of northern France and Belgium. According to soldiers' folklore, the vivid red of the poppy came from the blood of the comrades soaking the ground. The red poppy has become a symbol of Remembrance Day and has a special significance for Australians since it was adopted as the emblem of remembrance in 1921. This Remembrance Day, I encourage you to wear a red poppy and attend a local Remembrance Day service near you. This year I will be attending the service at Bingley RSL War Memorial, and I look forward to seeing some of you there. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, stop for a moment to remember those who gave their lives in the line of service, those who have returned home injured or ill, and those who bravely serve our country today. It's important we remember the tradition of remembrance and recognition of our defence services and the ultimate sacrifices they have made and continue to make each and every day. However you choose to mark it, remember to remember. Thank you. You may sit. Councillors' leave of absence. We do not have any councillors' leave. So we'll continue on. No absence to record. Condolences. I now refer to condolences. Do any councillors have a condolence to raise? I'll just go around the table. Councillor Lane.
Thanks very much, Mr. Mayor. I ask that our condolences be passed along to the Apps family. Last week, Brad Apps passed suddenly and left behind his wife Joanna and a family, a loving family. Now, those thirsty for knowledge in business needed support in the local community, and Brad and Joanna created the Logan Startup Hub, which was a great innovative idea where small business incubators, people can go along and actually have a desk you know, those thirsty for a cup of tea or a cup of coffee could actually sit down with their clients and with their backers and talk things through. That business will continue under the guidance of Joanna, who is very capable and able, but it's a very sad loss for the city, Mr. Mayor. I first met Brad when we were on the polling booth, and he was working for a mayoral candidate, and he was a cheeky bugger, and he made the polling booth a lot of fun. And the second time I met him with Councillor Russell, we went up and attended the Logan Startup Hub, and it was an amazing space. His loss to the city will be felt, so if we could pass along the condolences, that would be great.
Thank you. Councillor Russell? No. Councillor? No. Councillor? No. Right. Councillor Bannon? Councillor Wilcox. Councillor Murphy.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Could I please ask and request the condolences be forwarded to the family of Ethel Spann. Last month, Bingley lost another outstanding member of our community, Ethel Spann, whose family and namesake of Spann's Road, Bingley. Ethel was a dedicated and extremely community-minded person and always strived to help others in the community. Her lengthy history and achievements in our community included things of being a charter member of Quota Bingley in 1973 and club president for the Quota Bingley from 83 to 85. She was also the head of Blue Nurses and Blue Care, as we know it in Bingley, for many years. Mr Mayor, could I ask please that condolences be forwarded to Ethel Spann's family, and my thoughts are with those who have felt her loss deeply. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy. As it's Remembrance Day tomorrow, I just want to bring one name to the council. That's Matthew Lambert, who was a Charlotte Park resident who died in Afghanistan serving this country. I just want to bring his name back into to hell because of obviously the significance of tomorrow. So please stand if you're able to join me in a moment of reflection in honour of those who have gone and those who are being left behind. Thank you, councillors. You may sit. Councillors, I now open the floor for congratulations. Do any councillors have any congratulations requests to raise? Councillor Lane.
Thanks very much, Mr Mayor. If we could pass congratulations along to Aunty Jeanette Dean, the Islamic College of Brisbane, the Islamic Council of Queensland and Ali Kadri. Mr Mayor, many of our local residents are people from different parts of the globe, and they really are quite desperate for their citizenship. They're very proud to be able to call themselves citizens of this nation, and Logan City Council has recognised that there was a bit of a backlog that the federal government had with processing, and we started putting on 2 citizenship ceremonies each month, which I think netted us some 300 people a month. The Islamic College of Brisbane also saw that need, and they saw that most citizenship ceremonies happen of an evening, and a lot of people can't attend because of work commitments. So they actually created a citizenship ceremony at the college, and a lot of my local residents from Division 2 and other areas of Logan have actually benefited from that. So if you could pass our congratulations on to a very smooth running citizenship ceremony, obviously not as great as ours, but certainly great nonetheless. Thank you.
Councillor Lane. Councillor Russell? No? Councillor Karatsky?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I would like to ask that congratulations be forwarded to Maxine German. Maxine's an extraordinary Logan resident with a community spirit second to none. She moved to Yarrabilba about two years ago and has made it her mission to keep our neighbourhood clean. What makes Maxine's contribution to our city extraordinary is she has a brain aneurysm and does her volunteer work from her mobility scooter. With a long-handled picker, Maxine picks up broken glass, cigarette butts and litter. She does all of this with a gracious attitude and says it helps to improve her hand-eye coordination. The flourishing Yarrabilba community appreciate Maxine's efforts enormously. At present, she's nurturing a fractured toe, but she still manages to get out with the support of her support worker to collect local rubbish. Mr Mayor, I was keen to share with you and my fellow councillors one of the quiet achievers from Logan, Maxine, and her incredible contribution to the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Raven.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No formal congratulations on this one. Just a shout out to Jason Daniels. For those of you who know him as the Loose Kid founder, he recently won the Gold Coast Young Entrepreneur of the Year award, and what he did was he went down to Gold Coast to get attention, as so many people do, but then he knew that if he wanted to expand his business and take the world by storm, he had to come back to where the hard work gets done, in Logan. So he's relocated here with the help of our Investment Incentive Attraction Fund, and now he's looking to move into US markets and really is putting Logan on the map. So big shout out to Jason. Great work, mate.
Thank you, Councillor Raven. Councillor Hall? No? Councillor Fraser? Councillor Bannon? Councillor Stamp? Well, Councillor Wilcox.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We're now in November, and at the end of November, or towards the end of November, lots of community sport comes to an end. So I do have quite a few little congratulations to do, because it's been a busy past 2 months with sports wrapping up. And I'm pleased today to be able to congratulate just a few of the young people in my division that have done outstanding in their respective sports. And this is done through their disciplined and dedicated hard work in their training, so well done. The first two congratulations go to Greenbank State School students. So recently Greenbank State School had 5 students compete in the state championship cheerleading competition that was held on the Gold Coast, where they walked away with not 1 or 2 state titles, but 8 state championship titles and 1 runner-up state champion. The girls are all part of the Facade Logan West studio and competed from the 3rd to the 5th of November. So well done to Kendall, Neve, Evelyn, Elizabeth and Madison for competing and doing so well, and to the parents that actually take them to their training. Without you, it wouldn't be possible to achieve this. Another congratulations to Greenbank State School student Caillou, who is in grade 5, and he recently came first in the South East Queensland motocross titles. So well done. And the next 2 congratulations are for Flagstone State College students. I have congratulations to go to Tegan, Katie Jo, Emma, who all competed at the Nissan State Age Championship, Nissan State Age Netball Championships, and their team finished as the under-13 champions in Div 1, and they placed 8th out of 70 teams entered in the competition. So well done to the girls, and I'm sure that Councillor Bannon is proud of you, because you weren't only just representing Flagstone, they were representing Jimboomba Netball Club as well. And also Flagstone State Community College also had Flagstone Firefoxes, who competed at their very first, and I know my youngest would love to do this, their very first Lego League competition. They won the Robot Design and Robot Performance Award, and they were also top point scorers across the 3 rounds of the Robot Challenge. The team has now been invited to compete at the Nationals in December, where they will compete not against teams not just from Queensland, but also against Northern New South Wales. So congratulations to all of you, and congratulations to everyone that's actually wrapping up their sports for the end of October, November. I know it's been a huge and busy month for all of us in sports, so well done. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wilcox. Councillor Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like congratulations be forwarded to Rotary Club of Bingley, Shroptus International Bingley and Quota Bingley for the Bingley Cane Parade and Gala Ball. Mr. Mayor, on the 16th of October, the community of Bingley poured into the centre of town to mark the return of the Bingley Cane Parade. This event was well attended, with over 2,500 people lining our streets to welcome and cheer on the 50-plus floats that were on display. The floats were like Bingley Rum Distillery, Rocky Point Mulching, Quota Bingley, Sir Optimus, our local schools, our Eagleby Cane farmer Mick Hersey and the Willman family, who have been in this community for over 100 years. The streets of Bingley were once again alive with the action and a hint of nostalgia for the crowd. As the sun set, over 250 locals, including the councillors and the mayor, attended the Bingley Event Centre to celebrate the community's rich history, served with local food and produce being served to our guests. This event could not have been successful without the hard work and determination of Rotary Club Bingley and their partnerships with Sir Optimus and Quota Club. Mr. Mayor, I ask that congratulations please be sent to these clubs.
That'll be done, Councillor Murphy. Councillors, that ends the congratulations. I'll now refer to the minutes of the previous ordinary council meeting. that the minutes of the 791st Ordinary Council meeting held on the 13th of October 2021 to be confirmed. Is there a seconder for the motion? Councillor Bradley has seconded the motion. Does anyone wish to speak to the motion? No one wishes to speak to the motion. Now I open the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously, therefore the motion has been carried. We have no business arising from the minutes to consider. So now we'll go straight into the committee recommendations. So first up we've got the City Planning, Economic Development Environment Committee. So I now refer to the City Planning, Economic Development and Environment Committee meeting held on the 1st of November 2021. Councillor Raven, Chairperson of City Planning, Economic Development and Environment Committee, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And before I begin, do any councillors have any additional or new conflicts of interest they'd like to declare at this time? There being none, we'll get stuck straight in. Mr. Mayor, we had an amendment to item 6.1, and there is a proposed amendment for the proposed projects for local roads and community infrastructure program phase 3. Prior to considering this proposed amendment, I note the report does contain confidential information. Therefore, do any councillors wish to move into closed session to discuss this report?
Mr. Mayor, is it possible to have a look at the proposed amendment? Is it in the report?
It'll be on the screen shortly.
Yep.
Thank you, Councillor Bradley. So no one wants to go into confidential though?
When I look at it.
No worries. I'll continue on to discussions, and if we need to go into confidential to discuss it, we shall. Firstly, I note that the confidential attachment 1 associated with the committee report has been amended to accurately reflect information required for the proposed amended motion. Therefore, the updated attachment must be tabled to the meeting. So the first motion I'll put will be to move to table the updated document as a confidential attachment to the confidential report, as is now displayed on the screen. When Microsoft decides it wants to do its job. If only we used Chrome, Mr. Mayor. I don't think this happens with Chrome, just with Microsoft Edge. The IT manager's not in the room to even appreciate that joke. I hope he's watching. Mr. Mayor, while the motion comes up, I'll read it out. That the updated clause 1, that the updated confidential attachment 1 associated with item 6.1 of the City Planning, Economic Development and Environment Committee meeting held on the 1st of November 2021 be tabled as confidential attachment. And clause 2, now on the screen, that upon 1 November 2022, the Corporate Governance Manager be requested to place a confidential table attachment 1 as detailed in clause 1 above of the report of the Director of Innovation and City Transformation dated 1 November 2021 into the public record.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Raven. For a minute there, I thought the recommendations might have been on Gibson Island.
Hey, they could have been. I wouldn't have known.
Okay, so as you can see, clearly they're up on the board. Councillor Bradley, does that answer your question? Okay. So, Councillor Raven, you're moving that motion?
I am.
Okay, so Councillor Raven has moved the motion. I now ask for a second on the motion. Anyone like to second the motion? Councillor Hall, second the motion. Does anyone wish to speak to the motion? No? Okay, I'll now put the matter to the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously, therefore the motion has been carried. Councillor Raven.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There is now an amended motion on the screen for councillors to review. This is the substantive motion that relates that has been changed from the deferral. This is the motion that Councillor Bradley was interested in. So I'll give you some time to read it. It's got a number of numbers and a number of references to projects that, if you are wondering, are in the confidential attachment, if you'd like to cross-check them. I'll give councillors a few moments to cycle through. And if you all want to give me a nod when you're ready to proceed, I will move the motion. They're still reading.
Okay. Councillor Raven.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is everyone happy to proceed? Councillor Wilcox has a question.
Councillor Wilcox, you have a question?
Sorry, just a quick question. I think it's Project 11. Was it meant to say the remainder of the project cost or the remainder of Stage 1?
It says Stage 1 in brackets after Project 11, Councillor Wilcox. if you're happy with that.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? No, Councillor Raven.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I would like to move that the amended motion for item 6.1 as displayed on the screen be adopted.
Thank you. Councillor Raven has moved the amended motion for 6.1. Do I have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Bradley has seconded the motion. Now, does anyone want to speak to the motion? No? I now put the amended motion to the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously. Therefore, the motion has been carried. Back to you, Councillor Raven.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll now speak to the remainder of the recommendations, excluding item 6.1. It was a big week and a big month for the Planning, Economic Development and Environment Committee, Mr Mayor. There's an item that I'm sure is close to your heart, the Mayor's Local Jobs and Skills Task Force. I won't steal your thunder on that one. What I'd like to speak to is the Facade Improvement Program, which was item 5.1. This is a great initiative that we supported through the budget. It's a trial we're running out for 2 years to really encourage businesses to reinvest in their facades and encourage people to come back to our smaller and local centres so that they feel like safe spaces, they're attractive and welcoming to customers. We've got some pretty colonial facades out there, Mr Mayor, and we'd really like to see them modernised and brought into the 21st century. So it's an exciting program where Council is partnering with business to create economic activity and hopefully give the economy a bit of a kickstart in our small centres as we come out of COVID.
Thank you, Councillor Raven. Does any other councillors wish to bring any of the reports into discussion? No? Okay. I'd just like to highlight, obviously, the Mayor's Task Force. We've got a long way to go. Obviously, we've got to start somewhere. It's a fairly significant role. It's not traditionally local government, but because, and I gave you some information yesterday about our unemployment in the particular suburbs. As you know, we've never seen more development happen in our city before, and yet our unemployment's slightly going up, and that is an alarming situation for any city. And obviously, the hard work that's been from our officers and councillors so far, we need to know where the problem lies. I recently went out to a large workplace and I spoke to the foreman at the site, and he said, we've got all the local people on board and they're all Brisbane companies. He thought they were local. So obviously we need to work with the industry out there. Also, the good work that the Treasurer recently holding some business forums recognised that employees in the city were having trouble employing people from this city. That is also an alarming set of circumstances. So we've got to join the dots up and connect our people with the jobs. And this is what the task force has been set up to do. And I look forward to the challenge, and obviously I take responsibility of the role, but the hard work starts now. So I'll hand it back to you, Councillor Raven.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. It's a fantastic program, and we're constantly hearing about people looking for work and businesses who want workers. So surely someone's got to make the link, and I'm glad that you're the man to do it. I now move that the recommendations of the City Planning, Economic Development and Environment Committee meeting held on the 1st of November, with the exception of item 6.1, be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Raven. Councillor Raven has moved the motion for the recommendations. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Bradley has seconded the motion. Does anyone wish to speak to the motion? No one wishes to speak to the motion. Therefore, we put the matters to the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously. Therefore, the motion has been carried. We go to the next committee, which is the City Infrastructure Committee. I now refer to the City Infrastructure Committee held on the 1st of November as well, 2021. Councillor Lane, Chairperson of the City Infrastructure Committee, you may proceed.
Thanks very much, Mr Mayor. Before we move into discussion, do any councillors have any new conflicts of interest to declare? There being none. Mr Mayor, the last committee meeting was quite informative. We had the biochar products come out into the open, and there was a lot of discussion around that. Full kudos to Logan Water, Mike Basterfield, Kate Thomas and Mark Vaughan for their hard work on this. What's happened as a result of all of the promotion of this innovative item that Logan City Council is moving forward with is that the community as well as businesses are approaching us and saying, how can we become involved? How can this benefit us? Can you offer advice on these things? And each time they do that, I forward it through to the Logan Water team, and the response is immediate. They're actually offering advice out there to the community. So I just pay respects to those in the team down there, because they're doing a marvellous job, and they're doing a great job of promoting our city as an innovative and forward-thinking area to live in and to work in. Now, that being said, Mr Mayor, I open the floor for other discussion.
Councillors, any other discussions on any of the recommendations from this committee? No, I'll hand it back to you, Councillor Munn.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I now move that the recommendations of the City Infrastructure Committee meeting held on the 1st of November be adopted.
Thank you. Councillor Lane has moved the motion. Do I have a seconder of the motion? Councillor Stamp has seconded the motion. Anyone wish to speak to the motion? No? I now put the matter to the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That has been carried unanimously, therefore the motion has been carried. Councillors, we'll now go to the next committee, which is City Lifestyles. I now refer to the City Lifestyle Committee holding on the 3rd of November 2021. Councillor Karansky, Chairperson of the City Lifestyle Committee, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I note that Councillor Murphy made a declarable conflict of interest on item 5.1 in the City Lifestyle Committee, in which she voluntarily left the meeting. Accordingly, I'll now invite Councillor Murphy to take leave of the meeting until this matter has been voted upon. Thank you. Thank you. Before we move into discussions, do any other councillors have any other conflicts of interest they wish to declare? There being none, I'd now like to speak to the recommendation. At the City Lifestyle Committee last week, councillors were pleased to consider the endorsement of a nomination to the City of Logan's Wall of Acclaim. The Wall of Acclaim acknowledges and celebrates the achievements of residents who've made significant contributions to the development of the city and highlights their efforts to the wider community. We look forward to being able to celebrate further details about this particular nomination very, very soon. But I can assure you we've found someone who's very worthy of this particular award.
Thank you, Councillor Karansky. Any other councillors wish to talk about any of the recommendations? No? I'll hand it back to you, Councillor Karansky.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I now move the recommendation for item 5.1 of the City Lifestyle Committee meeting held on the 3rd of November be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Karansky. Do I have a seconder on the motion? Councillor Hall has seconded the motion. Anyone wish to speak to the motion? No one wishes to speak to the motion. I now put this matter to the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously, therefore the motion has been carried. Would someone like to invite Councillor Murphy back in, please? Councillor Murphy is back in her spot, so Councillor Karansky, I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll now speak to the balance of the recommendations. Councillors were provided with an update on the constraints and possible solutions to ongoing localised flooding experienced by the Logan Village Falcons All Sports at Big River Country Club in Logan Village. We're keen to continue the collaborative work with Council and the club to find a favourable outcome for all, and I thank you, Mr Mayor, for your interest and advocacy for the club in this space. The recent expression of interest outcome for Logan Metro Sports Park was presented to the councillor cohort, and it's always heartening to feel the passion in the room when discussing the activation of all our fields, and in particular this one. We're looking forward to future developments in this space and being able to report back to council in the not too distant future. A further update on the Nerida Street Community Centre and pensioner units was presented, seeking consideration on the response received from Queensland State Government, as well as a direction on a way forward. I'd like to thank my fellow councillors for what was a well-considered questions, comments and debate during this week's City Lifestyle Committee, and I thank you for your ongoing contributions.
Thank you, Councillor Karansky. Any other councillors wish to make any comment? No? I'll hand it back to you, Councillor Karansky.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I now move the recommendations of the City Lifestyle Committee held on the 3rd of November 2021, with the exception of item 5.1 be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Karansky. Councillor Karansky has moved the motion. Councillor Hall has seconded the motion. Any councillors wish to speak to the motion? No councillors wish to speak to the motion. I now put the matter to the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Councillor Bradley? That has been carried unanimously, therefore the motion has been carried. Okay, so we now go to the City Governance Committee. I now refer to the City Governance Committee meeting held on the 3rd of November 2021. Councillor Wilcox, Chairperson of City Governance Committee, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. And before Mayor Power opens it up to councillors to speak to the recommendations, I'd just like to address one motion that was moved in the beginning of the committee meeting to suspend the provisions under section 12.3 of the Local Government and Committee Meeting Code, allowing the meeting to confidential audio record discussions held within closed sessions. I wish to inform everyone that due to technical difficulties on the day, the recordings did not take place. However, the audio was not captured. Before we move into discussion, I'll hand back to the Mayor to open it up for discussion to other councillors.
Thank you, Councillor Wilcox. Do any councillors have any discussion on this and wish to speak? No? I'll hand it back to you, Councillor Wilcox.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I will now move the recommendations of the City Governance Committee meeting held on the 3rd of November 2021 be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Wilcox. Councillor Wilcox has moved the motion. Do we have a seconder to the motion? Councillor Murphy has seconded the motion. Do any councillors wish to speak to the motion? No. I'll now put the matter to the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That has been carried unanimously, therefore the motion has been carried.
Mr Mayor,
Yep.
I'd like to abstain to item 4.1 as discussed during committee until the delegations of authority review is complete.
Thank you. Any other councillors wish to record a comment? No. Councillor Karansky.
Sorry, thank you, Mr Mayor. I would like to also abstain from item 7.1 if I could.
Okay, that will be recorded. Any other councillors? No. Councillors, that ends the committee discussions. Now into council reports. We have one council report to consider. I refer to item 10.1. I now invite Dr Scott Burke, Director of Innovation City Transformation, to join the discussions. Before we open discussion on this item, do any councillors have a conflict of interest to declare? No conflicts? Okay, councillors, I'm going to take the report as read. I note that item 10.1 is confidential. I note that it is considered necessary to take the discussion of this report into a closed session as the confidential report contains information in relation to South East Queensland City Deal budget considerations. However, I've taken the report as read, so I'm now going to ask, do any councillors wish to move into closed session for this item? Okay. There being none, is there a mover for the report's motion as displayed on the screen? Okay, Councillor Raven has moved the motion. Can I have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Bradley has seconded the motion. Does anyone wish to discuss the motion? No one wishes to discuss the motion. I now put the matter on the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously, therefore the motion has been carried. Councillors, we have no late reports to consider. Do any councillors have a petition to present? No petitions? Okay, we have no notified motions to consider, so we'll go straight into general business. Now, last time we'll be starting at Division 5 with Councillor Raven.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I do have general business today, and it's actually with some regret that I have to raise this in general business, because I would much rather it have come up for a decision and a discussion and debate by council in an appropriate and democratic fashion. Today, under delegated authority, the Development Assessment Branch will refuse a development application for 151 residential lots on the corner of Derby Road and Chambers Flat Road in Logan Reserve. The minimum lot size for the zone that this application is in is 500 square metres, and that is under the Logan Reserve Local Plan, and the local plan reflects the views of the community. You'll remember last term, Mr Mayor, extensive community consultation was done to confirm that this met the expectations of our community. The development application wanted 113 lots, 74% of which would all have been less than the minimum lot size of 500 square metres. So they're just completely ignoring what the community expects in this space, which I consider to be disrespectful, but they offered no way of ameliorating that. They just flat out wanted to make more money out of that land and get a result that our community did not expect and would not support. I wanted staff to bring this application to council for a vote because of the strategic importance of this issue across the growth fronts in our city, and because I think our councillors deserve the opportunity to raise their hands and show their community that they support them and stand against developers who want to ignore the expectations of our community and our planning scheme. The developer advised staff that it was not prepared to grant an extension of time for the committee and council to vote on this application, and threatened to lodge a deemed refusal notice on council if not decided by tomorrow. Now, decided by today, sorry, Mr Mayor. So, for those playing at home, a deemed refusal notice means if council doesn't make a decision within a certain amount of time, then it's deemed refused, and then we have to demonstrate why we refused it. The deemed refusal notice is established by the state planning legislation, which makes sure that there are timeframes to decide applications, and sometimes this can make it very difficult for council to complete its committee and council cycles to vote on a development application of citywide importance. This is made harder with the stop the clock provisions that also exist under the Planning Act, which allows a developer to pause all proceedings and decision making on an application, and they can unpause it at a time that is convenient for them and inconvenient for the community and for this council. Mr Mayor, as the Deputy Mayor and the Chair of Planning and Development Committee, I propose to advocate to the state government, directly to the Deputy Premier, to change the planning legislation so that we do have the leniency to be able to actually use our democratic authority to vote on matters that are of importance to our city. I trust that I have your support in this. I don't intend on moving a motion. I just wanted to bring it to your attention.
Thank you, Councillor Raven. This is good news if we get this. You're going to put a motion up? No. You're going to put a motion up next round, or are we going to send a letter?
We'll send a letter, Mr Mayor.
Okay.
I'll put a motion for sending a letter, but I trust your ability
I'll send a letter.
To write a spicy one.
I'll tell you what, I'm proud to be with this council. It's, if you want to do that, that's great. Thank you. We'll continue with general business. Councillor Hall. Councillor Fraser. Councillor Jeremiah.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Today, I don't have any prepared remarks, but it's great to hear from the Deputy Mayor about a development application in my electorate, in my community of Logan Reserve. And the Deputy Mayor mentioned about supporting our residents. And what I'm really grateful for is when I go into Logan Reserve, I can go to my residents and I can tell them about some of the great work council is doing, but they expect a lot more. We have trees, we have hundreds and hundreds of trees being knocked down every single month. When you drive along the roads in Logan Reserve, there's dangerous conditions and there's brand new housing developments going in right next door. If this council wants to support Logan Reserve, if this council wants to use its democratic power to help the people in Logan Reserve, we can do that now by dedicating more funding, by supporting our residents. Just because a resident lives in Logan Reserve or Park Ridge doesn't mean they shouldn't have equal access to social infrastructure and to safe roads. Logan Reserve's growing. It can really be a great community and we can keep that community spirit, but it needs to be supported by council. Right now it is, and we need to keep that focus and we need to do even more. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Jeremiah. Councillor Jeremiah, I understand your pain, and I can tell you now, representing this council against the other councillors in regards to the regional plan, I am firing as many broadsides as I possibly can to make sure the council doesn't go through any more pain. But thank you for your comments. Councillor Bannon? No. Councillor Stamp? Councillor Wilcox?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Recently I attended my husband's 25 years of service celebration for Coles. He's been there all the time that I've known him and longer. He was one of around 250 Coles employees from across the state, and they were both from stores and distribution warehouses, and they came to celebrate with invited guests, so it was fantastic to attend. I was honoured to attend it and to be able to celebrate with not only just my husband Mark, but the colleagues he started his journey on 25 years ago, and some of them are still there celebrating with him. But it was really so nice for me to attend because there were so many Logan residents that were there celebrating with him, who work in Logan stores as well, and who were celebrating. So as I walked around the room, there was quite a few people that I recognised as friends of my husband, but also from stores. I actually sat at a table with him and I went, I actually recognise all of you guys from stores. Where are you from? And had a really good chat with them. So congratulations to all of them on a huge achievement and a milestone. Like 25 years is huge. But it isn't just Coles that's been celebrating 25 years of service. I know that EQ have been celebrating 10, 15, 20, 25 years plus years of service as well, because I've had quite a few friends of mine that are still teaching celebrate as well. But on the very same day that my husband's 25 years of service celebration was on, Logan City Council also celebrated their staff who have been here for 10, 15, 20, 25 years. Because I attended the Coles event, I wasn't able to attend and celebrate with those staff, but I would like to thank them for their service and for their milestones and their continued service. But in closing, I know that it's not just these couple of people or these couple of companies that are celebrating their service achievements. It's across the board. It's across wherever you work. It's always celebrated, and it's a huge part of your life to give that much service to the one company, and the knowledge that you have for that company is outstanding. And the one last thing from today that I would like to commend schools on is I would like to wish all of the grade 12 students across Logan a fantastic last couple of days of high schools. All of our grade 12 students will officially complete their grade 12 studies on Friday the 19th of November. You have again had a very challenging year with COVID interruptions, but I wish you all the very best for your future. Thank you to parents, staff and students for all that you've done and for getting them through another huge year. So well done. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Wilcox. Councillor Murphy? No. Councillor Bradley?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wasn't going to speak today, but hearing Councillor Raven, I decided that I would actually stand up because I had a very similar situation happen. I got an email whilst I was sitting here about a childcare centre that I did actually ask for a report to come up, and that has also stopped the clock. So I'm happy to give that information to you, Mr. Mayor, for that letter. And on Saturday, it's a very exciting day because Underwood Park Cafe, the much anticipated cafe, will be officially opened, and Moonlight Bandit have taken on the lease from Council for that, and I want to thank in advance Councillor Russell, Councillor Hermeyer, Councillor Murphy and Councillor Raven who will be attending. On the same day will be a major BMX, Logan City BMX Academy event, where people can win up to $10,000. So I don't know how many official entries have been, the registration finishes at 9 o'clock tonight, so I don't know how many have registered, but there will be people from all levels, from local and state. So get there early for your car park on Saturday, that's all I can say. Thank you, that's all.
Thank you, Councillor Bradley. Councillor Lane.
Thanks very much, Mr. Mayor. Almost a fortnight ago today, a young child was struck by a vehicle on Polaris Avenue at Kingston, and there were some amazing residents who went to that young child's aid. He was severely injured. He'd bolted out across the road in front of a moving vehicle, but this was at an intersection of Lachlan and Polaris, which has long been a bone of contention since it was opened up by Councillor Abel to complete the flow of traffic in Lachlan Street. Residents came to me and said they were actually traumatised by this event, watching that young child on the road, bleeding profusely, ambulances, traffic stopped. And we had to put it to them that we were actually working on a plan. The traffic engineers, Carl and Masood, have put together a safe crossing space on Polaris Avenue with the very limited space that they have, and they've been working with local residents to get approval from them to actually make that that plan become a reality. Groves Christian College has also invested a lot of money in building a new car park to get cars off the road so that pickup is safer for students around the area. At Kingston State School, we moved permanently parked cars off the road and created 30-minute parking spaces so that parents can actually go and pick up their children in safety. We've got 3 schools within a very short space of each other, and we have a street that is a major thoroughfare for all 3 schools, but it's not classified as a school road. So lawfully we can't change the speed limit down to 40 kilometres unless we seek permission from the state government. One of those things, we're trying to achieve that at the moment, Mr Mayor, and with your assistance in writing a letter to the State Minister for Transport, I would love to try and get Polaris Avenue into the 40k zone so that we can create that safe harbour for families and children.
Councillor Lane will work together on that. Councillor Russell. Councillor Karansky.
Mr Mayor, as you've likely heard in the news, I'm very sad to report that a woman has passed away and 4 others were seriously injured on Monday evening when 2 4-wheel drive vehicles travelling in opposite directions collided on Plunkett Road at Cedar Creek. Councillors, you would recall I raised in Ordinary Council in August resident concerns regarding heavy vehicles and the safety of motorists who use Plunkett Road. Councillors, I can report that further to the August meeting, the Mayor wrote to the officer in charge for the Logan Village Yarrabilba Police Station requesting speed monitoring, and QPS have been performing static and mobile patrols along Plunkett Road where a number of traffic offences, in particular speeding, have been identified. Since that meeting, I've continued to work with Council's traffic officers and have supported a speed review for Plunkett Road and Charden Bridge Road. Traffic counts are underway for both roads. Mr Mayor, we are awaiting a report back from the Acting Director of Roads and Water and Infrastructure who provided an undertaking in August to investigate heavy vehicle usage, designated road hierarchy and future planning for Plunkett Road. I'd like to request that the Acting Director of Roads and Water Infrastructure also interrogate the findings of the safety review and include that into the upcoming report due early in 2022. Just in closing, Mr Mayor, I'd just like to thank you for your ongoing advocacy. I know the residents are reaching out to you just as they're reaching out for me to try and find a solution for Plunkett Road. And I understand the upgrade of Plunkett Road is listed in Council's Statement of Intent for Major Roads Capacity and Safety Program. Given the circumstances in this latest incident, I welcome your ongoing advocacy in requesting upgrades to Plunkett Road be made a priority. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Karansky. And I've read this morning that Plunkett Road had been resurfaced in 2016. So obviously we have been attending that road, but it'll be interesting to see that report back. And
sections of Plunkett Road have been, yes.
Thank you, Councillor Karansky. Councillors... Sorry? Yeah, that's it. Yep. So we've finished general business. I just want to make some comment myself. Last Friday, I was lucky enough to be in attendance to the Council of Mayors Forum, where we were able to talk to councillors and other mayors and listen to their little concerns and political problems and whatnot. And I was in a fairly large group, and they asked me how Logan's going, and I said, "Oh, you're talking about the political utopia," I called it, because I said I'm working with a great bunch of people who have all got the common cause for the greater good of Logan. There's no factions. Politics doesn't come into play. And I said we're moving in a great direction, particularly with the environment, which is very interesting because of what's happening with the federal government. And I was lucky enough to speak to one of the councillors from Brisbane, who's actually a Green, and I told him what we were doing, and he was quite delighted that, you know, there's a council actually doing as much as what we are. And I think he was a little bit jealous, actually, what we're doing. So, but I just want to put it on record that, you know, we are obviously doing our bit for climate change, and the council has achieved so much, but just just like to remind everyone, I walked around the car park at the forum and I couldn't see any electrical cars except for mine. So I know you know that I've got an electric car. I drive a little Tesla now, but I think I might be the only mayor in South East Queensland that's got one. So, and of course it's powered by the solar panels in the roof. So just like to put it on notice that this council is going forward and we're leading by example. So we'll finish up now, and I'd just like to end the meeting, and the meeting's being recorded to finish at 10:50 a.m. Thank you very much.